The Pentagon has just unveiled a plan that could rewrite America's entire defense budget. The U.S. Air Force is asking for 500 of the most advanced fighter jets ever conceived, Boeing's F-47 NGAD. Each one carries a price tag bigger than what some nations spend on their whole Air Force. Put the full bill together, and you're looking at enough money to keep NASA running for an entire decade. But here's the twist. China is rolling out stealth fighters faster than anyone in Washington expected, and many of the jets we already own are barely able to stay flight ready. This is the story of how America's next-generation air dominance plan could either lock down our skies for the next 50 years or blow a hole in the defense budget, unlike anything we've ever dealt with. The F-47 isn't just another fighter on the ramp. It's a technological beast that makes the F-22 Raptor feel like last-generation solution. President Trump rolled this program out only months ago, branding it as a capability the world has never witnessed. He wasn't exaggerating the hype, but what didn't make it into the sound bites was the brutal math behind the program. Defense analysts now warn, it's not just the planned 185 F-47s we're talking about. We may need 3 times that fleet if we want to keep air superiority over our rivals. Here's a fact that will catch a lot of people off guard. Right now, as you're watching this, only about half of our F-35 Lightning fighters are truly combat-ready. That's not an exaggeration. Out of 302 F-35s in the Air Force inventory, only 155 could launch and fight if we needed them tomorrow morning. The mission-capable rate has fallen off a cliff, dropping from 69% just 4 years ago to roughly 51% today. And the picture gets even darker from here? Our crown jewel, the F-22 Raptor, the top air superiority fighter on the planet up to now, has just 143 aircraft ready to fight out of a fleet of 185. Let that sink in for a second. We poured money into the most expensive fighter program in history, and 3/4 of a century later, we can put fewer than 150 jets in the air when it really counts. Meanwhile, Beijing hasn't been standing still. Intelligence estimates say China has already rolled out more than 200 J-20 stealth fighters, their direct challenger to the Raptor. And here's the part that should really worry you. They're not hitting the brakes, they're still speeding up. Month after month, additional J-20s are rolling out of Chinese factories, while our own hangars are fighting just to keep existing fighters in the air. The numbers aren't complicated, they're terrifying. In a shooting war, we could find ourselves outnumbered by Chinese stealth jets for the first time since World War II. This isn't a partisan talking point. It's raw, unforgiving military reality. That's where the F-47 comes in. It has the potential to rewrite that balance, but there's an even bigger shift on the horizon. The F-47 NGAD marks a true quantum leap over anything currently flying. When Air Force Chief of Staff General David Alvin revealed the core performance targets, even veteran defense analysts and combat aviators were left stunned. This isn't just an upgrade to what we already have. The F-47 is built to fly more than 1,000 nautical miles from base to target, giving it almost twice the reach of an F-22. It pushes past Mach 2, hauls a bigger weapons load, and uses stealth so refined it makes today's fighters look like they're lit up with neon. And here's where it really gets wild. The F-47 isn't meant to go into battle by itself. It's designed to lead a pack of AI-enabled drone wingmen known as collaborative combat aircraft. Imagine a single F-47 pilot orchestrating several unmanned fighters at once, unleashing a synchronized wave of air power no enemy has ever had to deal with. Behind the scenes, Boeing has already been flying prototype demonstrators since 2020. The X-planes have already logged hundreds of flight hours, validating technologies that would have sounded like pure science fiction just 10 years ago. These are no longer theoretical experiments. They are mature systems, essentially ready to roll into full-scale production. The engineering leap here is massive. Conventional fighters demand huge maintenance teams and highly specialized facilities. By contrast, the F-47 is built to run on a much leaner support footprint. It can deploy faster, stay in the fight longer, and get turned around back into action quicker than any fighter we have ever fielded. The budget picture is where this story really starts to hit hard. Right now, the F-47 program is scoped for 185 aircraft, each coming in at around $300 million. Run the numbers. You're looking at roughly $55.5 billion just for the airframes, before you even touch development, training, or long-term support. But here's the problem. Defense experts argue that 185 jets won't cut it, not if we're serious about owning the skies over China and other rising threats. The real requirement could be closer to 500 F-47s, 500 of the most expensive fighters ever built. So let's step back and put that scale into perspective. Buying 500 F-47s would run about $150 billion more than the entire yearly budget of most federal departments. That's enough cash to fund the Department of Education for 2 years, or keep NASA operating for an entire decade. It even exceeds the GDP of many countries. On top of that, the Pentagon is already set to pour $20 billion into NGAD development between 2025 and 2029, and that's just the down payment. When you add in the full buy of 500 aircraft and all the support that goes with them, the total bill could easily climb past $300 billion over the life of the program. Some critics argue this may become the most expensive military effort in American history. Others insist it's the single most essential investment we can make for our future security. The reality probably sits somewhere in the middle, but the stakes could not be higher, and it gets more complicated from there. The Air Force has to juggle this enormous price tag against a long list of other urgent priorities. Every dollar that goes into F-47s is a dollar that doesn't go into bombers, airlift, or space-based systems. This is a high-risk bet on what the next era of air combat will look like. Bet wrong, and we could end up with the world's most advanced fighter force, but not enough tankers to refuel it, not enough satellites to guide it, or not enough munitions to arm it. Bet right, and we build a balanced ecosystem that scares adversaries into never testing it in the first place. So why even entertain an investment this massive? The answer is tied to a threat taking shape about 7,000 miles away, inside China's aerospace plants. While Washington argued over the cost of the F-47, Chinese designers never took their foot off the gas. Their J-20 Mighty Dragon isn't some knockoff of US tech. It's a real, frontline danger with some very serious capabilities of its own. It can reach about 1,100 nautical miles on a single load of fuel, giving it more legs than either our F-22 or our F-35. In any Pacific showdown, that kind of reach isn't just a nice-to-have, it's the whole ballgame. And Beijing isn't stopping with the J-20. Their new J-35 stealth jet is starting to come online, built from the ground up for carrier operations. For the first time, China is on the verge of sailing stealth fighters that can push power all the way across the Pacific. That puts every American base from Japan to Guam inside their potential strike envelope. But this is what really keeps planners at the Pentagon up at night. China is also racing ahead on 6th-generation designs. The shadowy J-36, spotted in satellite imagery, could embody tech that matches or even edges past what the F-47 brings to the fight. Worse, the schedule for these 6th-gen projects keeps speeding up, repeatedly catching US intelligence off guard. Russia adds a whole extra layer to this problem. Their Su-57 Felon might not be on par with US stealth in pure tech terms, but they're rolling more of them out every year. In a nightmare scenario with 2 active fronts, America could be staring down hundreds of hostile stealth jets at the same time. The geography makes it even harsher. Most likely, flashpoints are in the Pacific, where huge stretches of ocean reward aircraft with long legs and serious endurance. Chinese fighters flying from mainland bases can hit targets our shorter-range jets simply can't reach in time. To ordinary Americans, those distances might just look like lines on a map. To planners, they are brutal physics problems. Fuel, burn, tanker availability, time on station, and whether a pilot arrives with enough gas left to fight and make it home. And then there's the industrial mountain we have to climb. Cranking out 500 F-47s isn't only a budget question. It's a test of whether our manufacturing muscle is still there at all. Boeing's fighter lines have been under strain for years, battling losses and production setbacks. The company has taken heavy hits on recent defense contracts, and the F-47 program now looks like it's shot at redemption. But there's a catch. America's defense industrial base has shrunk dramatically since the Cold War. We have fewer factories, fewer skilled workers, and far less manufacturing capacity than we did in the 1980s. Cranking out 500 of the most complex fighters on the planet will mean rebuilding capabilities we've allowed to wither. The supply chain burden is enormous. The F-47 depends on thousands of specialized components from hundreds of suppliers spread across the country. Many of those suppliers are small firms with limited headroom. Scaling production doesn't just mean making more jets. It means scaling up an entire industrial ecosystem at the same time. Look at the advanced materials piece on its own. The F-47's stealth skin relies on exotic compounds that only a tiny handful of firms can manufacture. Its engines depend on super alloys that need specialized furnaces and ultra-precise production techniques. Even the onboard electronics run on custom chips built specifically for military use. The Air Force projects it will be 2028 before the first production F-47 is actually flying. Reaching full-rate output for 500 jets could push well into the 2030s. That's a multi-decade industrial buildup we haven't seen since World War II. But here's the good news. American industry has taken on impossible challenges before and delivered. When America needed B-17 bombers, Detroit flipped its factories almost overnight. When the country set out to build atomic weapons, we literally raised whole cities out in the desert. The F-47 program, as massive as it looks on paper, is cut from that same cloth, a national-level push to stay ahead of any rival. If we choose to commit, this won't just be a win for Boeing or the Air Force. It could mean apprenticeships for young welders, engineering jobs in towns that have been hollowed out, and a new generation of workers learning how to build the most sophisticated machines on Earth. Now let's talk about the strategic return on that investment. Even with the eye-watering price tag, a lot of defense planners argue the F-47 could end up being the deal of the century. Owning the skies isn't just about winning dogfights. It's about stopping wars before they ever start. When potential enemies understand they will never own the air, they're a lot less likely to roll the dice on a major conflict. And the F-47 is built for far more than classic fighter versus fighter engagements. Its cutting-edge sensors can follow enemy movements from hundreds of miles away, long before they ever see it coming. Its electronic warfare suite can scramble enemy communications, blind radar networks, and turn their own systems into liabilities. That extended range lets it hit high-value targets deep inside hostile territory while still launching from safe, well-defended bases. And above all, the F-47 is purpose-built to own the electromagnetic spectrum. Modern combat isn't just missiles and bombs anymore. It's data, connectivity, and digital infrastructure. This jet can spot opposing forces while staying virtually unseen, pass information securely across huge distances, and choreograph complex missions in real time. Then you add the drone wingman, and everything scales up fast. A single F-47 can direct multiple unmanned aircraft at once, generating crushing local air superiority even when it's technically outnumbered. Overall, it's like putting a star quarterback on the field who can direct multiple players at once across a three-dimensional battle space. For our allies, the F-47 is more than just hardware. It's reassurance that America is still fully committed to defending freedom across the globe. Japan, South Korea, Australia, and other partners in the Pacific are watching this program very closely. They know that American air dominance shields their sovereignty every bit as much as it protects our own. Now we get to the alternatives and the risks. Some defense analysts argue there are other options instead of building 500 F-47s. Maybe we could upgrade the F-22 fleet with cutting-edge technology. Maybe we just buy more F-35s rather than pouring money into an entirely new fighter. Those ideas sound attractive at first, until you start looking hard at the details. Trying to modernize the F-22 is like dropping a supercomputer into a laptop frame from the 1990s. The core airframe and architecture were built for an earlier era and an older threat picture. Bringing it up to true 6th-generation standards would cost nearly as much as fielding brand new F-47s, without ever matching their full potential. Yes, buying additional F-35s is cheaper per jet, but it leaves the core issue untouched: range. Across Pacific distances, even the best-equipped F-35 simply cannot hit many of the targets that Chinese fighters can comfortably reach. It's the wrong tool for that specific fight, no matter how capable the design is. And the price of coming up short on F-47s is enormous. If Beijing were to seize air superiority over Taiwan, the balance of power across the entire Pacific could flip in a single night. If they can hold American bases in Japan and Guam at risk, our whole ability to project power across the region starts to crumble. But there's also a real danger in going too far the other way and buying too many F-47s. Even for the world's largest military, the defense budget has limits. Every dollar we pour into fighters is a dollar we're not putting into ships, missiles, or cyber warfare capabilities. That trade-off comes with a huge opportunity cost, and the timeline might be the biggest threat of all. If the F-47 program slips behind schedule while Chinese fighter production keeps accelerating, we could end up with a painful capability gap at the exact moment we can least afford it. The 2030s could be the decade when American air power is at its most vulnerable in a generation. That's why this isn't just a debate for generals and senators. It's a question every informed citizen should wrestle with. What level of risk are we willing to accept? And what level of investment are we willing to support to keep deterrence intact? The debate over buying 500 F-47 fighters is about far more than a Pentagon line item. At the deepest level, it's about what kind of country America chooses to be in the 21st century. Are we willing to make the hard investments needed to keep military superiority, even when the price tag feels overwhelming? History shows that paying for dominant technology, while expensive, is still far cheaper than fighting wars without it. The F-47 program could head off conflicts that might cost trillions of dollars and thousands of American lives. The men and women of our Air Force deserve the best equipment we can put in their hands. They've never asked for easy missions or simple assignments. They've only asked for the tools they need to defend America and protect our allies. The F-47 is our way of showing we're committed to giving them exactly that. Whether Congress signs off on funding for 185 F-47s or pushes ahead with a full fleet of 500, one thing doesn't change. American air power will remain the benchmark the rest of the world measures itself against. Any rival thinking about testing skies, guarded by the most advanced fighters ever built, is going to think twice. The bill is massive, but the price of letting our edge slip would be far worse. For decades, U.S. military strength has been a backbone of global stability. The F-47 program is how we carry that deterrent power into the next generation. What do you think about this analysis? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. If you find this video interesting, hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth military coverage. Thanks for watching the video. See you on the next journey.